Hello everyone, so today I'm going to talk to you about how you can retire by the time you are 30 years old. And I don't mean retire as in stop working altogether. I'm talking about retiring from a day job, running your own business, and being able to live off of your investments. This is basically the path that I took. Now, really quickly, I do want to set a disclaimer. This does take 12 years, so even if you're 30 years old right now, you could retire by the time you're 42 by using a model similar to this. But also, this does take a lot of it goes against a lot of social pressures because, of course, some of the things that I'm going to talk about are against what we are taught as kids. They say that we should move out by the time we're 18 or 19. I'm saying not to do that in this video. And I'm also saying that you don't have to go to college, and you actually might be a farther ahead person than somebody who went to college if you took this route like I did. I went to college, however, I paid for it out of savings, and I did not take any loans. Back then, college was a lot cheaper. Back 12 years ago, college for me was about $12,000, $13,000 in that range, $1,000. For the same program today, it's around $30,000. So keep that in mind. So from there, let's get down to the screen and let's check out essentially how you can do this. So first off, we are starting off at the age of 18. At the age of 18, you're out of high school, in most cases, and you could be working a full-time job. And if you are able to get a full-time job, $14.50 per hour, at least that's what the minimum wage here is in Canada and Ontario, and if you were to work 40 hours a week, you would gross yearly out of 52 weeks in a year, $31,000 per year. Taxes is going to take 20% of that. I think it's 20.2, 20.1, whatever. I'm just rounding off to 20, at least here in Ontario. And after-tax income is around $24,928. Now, if you were to invest 30% of your overall money, so if you were to invest, obviously 20% goes to the government out of that $31,000, but if you were to stick another 30% into a savings account. Now, I understand that this is something that not everybody is able to do. If you've been kicked out of your house or if you've moved out of your house, this is something that is unattainable to most. Most people will need to live on more than 50% of their earnings. However, if you're living at home, $1,000 or $1,100 or whatever it ends up being per month after you take that 50% away does end up being quite a bit of money. You can still get a car loan. You can still spend $300-$400 on a car loan and get a car. And car insurance is only maybe $200-$300. You're now at $500-$600. And if you're living at home, you might want to pay your parents rent just to keep them off your backs, which would be around maybe $100-$200 a month. And at that point, you're at $700. Now you've got $300, which is about $75 a week of just play money. Whatever you want to do, you've got $75 and that's what you can do. That can also be part of a cell phone bill. This is why I tell everybody to start their own business as a self-employed or maybe an incorporation, whatever route you want to take that way, because now you can write off that cell phone. You can also write off clothing. Like I write this off because it has my name on it. I use it to train players and I use it for advertising. So I can write that off as an expense. Now I don't need to go out and buy clothes because I'm doing it anyways, but I can take it off of my earned income because it's tax deductible because it has my logo, has my sayings on the back and everything like that. So from there, you can actually save a lot of money on taxes. And you can make more money than just working a day job. You can have a side hustle that will eventually, in 10 to 12 years, turn into your full-time job. That's what I've done. This means that at least in your first year, you're going to be doing about $9,300 invested, which we see here. At that point, we have a total invested at the end of the year of $9,300. Now, this is just simple math. I'm not breaking it down by month. I'm breaking it down by year. You may actually have a larger return overall, or you may have less of a return, but the average stock market return, if you were to invest in something like SPY or VOO, is around 10% per year, and it pays roughly a 1-ish, 1.5%, sometimes 2% dividend. At that point in time, what we would be looking at getting by the end of the year after, by the time you have been basically through your 19th year, you are looking at having in your trading account about $19,771, because now you have added more money into the account as well throughout the entire year. I am also incorporating the fact that you are getting a raise of 0.5%. Well, a raise of 1%, that's at least when I was working a day job at a minimum wage job, I generally got 1 to 2% raises, sometimes 3%. I had one year that was a 6% raise because I had a lot of sales. And from there, we'll raise the amount that you put in every single year by 0.5%. Now, this is only incorporating the fact of your day job. This is not incorporating the fact of whatever side hustle is making you money. And the side hustles that I personally had myself was actually quite a few. So my first side hustle that I did way back when I was even in high school was to train basketball players, because I was a pretty good basketball player. There was a lot of players who wanted training. I used to teach at the YMCA at a basketball course that they had, and those players, a lot of them wanted to train one-on-one with me, and that's what we did. And I would get paid back then around, I think it was around $30 or $40 per hour. And of course, I raised my rates since then, but because of coronavirus, I did lower them once again just to help people out. Now, from there, my second side hustle that basically came off from that was still doing basketball training, but I started doing scrapping. So there would be like a once per month scrap day in our city. I would go around with my car at the time. I would pick up different things like TVs, things that are expensive, like receivers that have a lot of copper and things like that. And I would take it to the scrapyard once a month, and I would get myself an extra $300 or $400 a month on the side. And I calculated I spent roughly about $80 in gas, and of course a lot of time to be able to do that, which still brought me a profit. And then I built another part of my business, which was continuing on with my basketball training, but doing YouTube. And I started Basketball Coach Allen, the YouTube channel, and I grew that. I have since stopped doing scrapping. I even bought an Escape way back, and I only used it once for scrapping. I bought it because it was bigger, I could put more stuff into it, and I just ended up saying, screw scrapping, I'm making more money on YouTube. It's not worth my time to do 20 hours a week on the side of scrapping when I could be just putting that into YouTube and making more money. So we will calculate if you start making more money every single year on that total later on down in the video. But from there, we also are still calculating that 10% return and 1% dividend. Now, if we start moving this down, we start seeing that, hey, now I'm starting to get $313 a year in dividends. I'm making $3,100 a year as a 10% return, and now my trading account, including my new initial investment this year, would be $31,000. Then we can keep on moving this down all the way to 24 years old. And by the time you're 24, you'll have $92,000 in the account. You'll be getting paid $926 a year in dividends. So now that's starting to equal about 2 weeks worth of pay, and we keep on going. This is all about continued returns. We start moving down to the age of 28, which is when I was 28 and a half-ish when I went basically full-time on my business. No, I was just before I was 28 years old. I was full-time on my business. And this is roughly this. I had a little bit better returns because I had a few other things going on, and I'll explain that later. But now you're making $1,800 in dividends, which is a whole month's worth of income, and you're making you basically made on average $18,000 from your 10% return, which now makes you basically $20,000 that year alone, which is now rivaling your actual after-tax income from your day job. And it starts getting pretty crazy at this point. So when you turn 29, you're now rivaling your daily income. You've got $216,000 invested. And then if you go to at the end of the age of 30, you will be having around $250,000. You would have on average made around $25,000 as a return on investment. and then you would have your 1% dividend of $2,500 over the entire year, which is around $200 a month. Now, this is why I always say start your own business, because of course these numbers are all great, but you have to remember that you have to pay tax on that money unless you have it in something like an RRSP or a TFSA, or if you're in the States, IRA. I don't know. I don't know American stuff, but from there, that is one way that you could do it. But what happens if you had a side hustle and your side hustle is making you more money each year? So let's say we change the numbers just a bit and we say, well, instead of raising our put in each year by 0.5%, instead of it raising it by 0.5%, what happens if we can make enough money either through raises or through our side hustle business, if we can raise it up about 5% per year? So if we can go 5% per year, that would then make it look like this, which means that if you can raise your put in each year by 5%, you are now at the point of having $311 on average in your trading account. Your 10% on average return every year equals $31,000, and your 1% dividend goes to $3,000 over the entire year. Now, on this channel, we're talking about dividends, and 1% dividends is something that I would never really invest my money into. Look at it as a dividend investment. I would be looking at it as an income investment. Make my money grow. And because of that, let's say we actually change the number to something that I would be looking at as a dividend investment, which is around 3% or better. If we can get 3%, and let's say we raise, so we'll change that up here just to make it visually nice. And if we can change our 10% return, let's say it goes down to 8, because that's generally what the Canadian banks do. If we can change that, and we've already changed it here, so that's good, we'll move this down. We are now looking at a massive $351,000 in investments. With our average 8% return, we'll have $35,000 in that year. And now we're looking at a 3% dividend of $10,559 per year. What I'm trying to say is if you can live at home until you're 29 or 30 years old. Now, I know this goes against all the social pressures of moving out of your house, getting away from your parents. Are your parents supportive? Can you even live with your parents? Because some parents will say, you're 22, get the hell out. My parents were super supportive. I told them about this plan and they were supportive with it. And that's why I was able to run with it. It's always nice to be open with your parents because then they're going to be more open with you. Will they allow you to grow your money so that by the time you can get a house, you don't have to work a job. You can live off of your investments and also your side hustle, which will become your full-time business. Because I can tell you my side hustle took forever to grow. Some people may have a faster side hustle. Mine literally took about 10 years to make any serious amount of money. My side hustle, which is now my full-time income, is now making me in the range of about $40,000 to $45,000 I'm expecting this year. My goal is 50, but I should be able to easily hit 40 to 45, and if I hit 50, I'll be extremely happy. Now, by investing half of that, that's going to be even bigger than what I have here on this chart. Because, for example, if I was to invest $25,000 here, now that's even looking even bigger. This is not an easy strategy. I can tell you right now, you're going to be sitting there saying, wow, I really want that car. Wow, I really want that dress or that shirt or those pants or that belt or whatever. Wow, I really want to do that. I really want to go on that trip. Well, guess what? I still went on trips. I still go to, except for this year because of coronavirus, other years, I was able to get down to Florida for about 2 weeks because my job still paid me while I was down there because of vacation pay. And from there, even though that's costing me a good amount of money, if you can be smart about where you go and travel, so for me, it was Carnival Cruise Lines, and you're looking at a whole week for like $1,200, and that's all in. So that's not that bad. I drive over the border to Buffalo, get on a Southwest plane, which is like $110 to get down to Florida. Like, you're literally looking at some of the cheapest ways to travel, but a lot of fun to actually do. So you can find ways of traveling and still doing everything that you want to do and do it cheaply, and then still do your investments. Now, let's start getting crazy with this. Let's say, for example, you were able to do what I was able to do, which is to do an extra 15% every year between having raises at work, but also growing my business, my side hustle. You're now looking at investing a huge amount of money if you could raise how much you're putting into your actual savings account or your investing account. Now, that $50,000 for me didn't happen. That's not going to happen. I basically capped out roughly around there and did around $24,000 a year after that. You're now looking at a massive amount of money. I also don't average 3% because you have to remember that that also raises every single year because banks and things like that also tend to raise their dividends. Right now, throughout most of my investing time, I average around 4.5%. That's how you would do the math. You start moving it down. You're now looking at investment dividends of $2,000 a month. You are now rivaling a full-time minimum wage job with your investments. And now with that, you're putting in that, you've got that $24,000 that you're putting in. That's what I call all my money from Best Buy where I used to work, or the YMCA where I used to work. Also my side hustle, which is now my full-time gig. At my full-time thing that I'm doing around 50,000. I'm hoping for the 50,000 this year. I'm going to be roughly around 40, maybe. I'm hoping for 50, like I was saying. But if you've got, let's say, 40,000 to be on the safe side, and then you've got another 24,000 of dividend income, you're now looking at an income stream of $64,000. And if you're writing off enough stuff, you could technically make that for free. But at that point, you're going to be paying taxes no matter what. It takes so much effort to try and write off $64,000. You're not going to be able to do it. But from there, if you're looking at this, and now you're saying, well, what about a house? Well, guess what? If you can take, let's go back down to here. At the age of 30, you say, well, you know what? I have to delete this, and I'm going to take away, let's say, whatever it was. Let's say we'll take away $144,000 for a down payment on a house, and we'll turn this into $400,000 even. If you took that $144,000 out for a down payment on a house, you still have $40,000 that is going to grow that year, and you also are still making that $18,000 in income, and then you can still do this over and over again for the rest of your life. See, the great thing about running your own business is you can think of ways that's going to make you more money every single year. When you work a job, the only way that you can make more money is by either trading more time to work there, or by getting a raise, and I can guarantee you they're not going to give you more than a 4 or 5% raise. So when you start looking at it, this is the best way to go. Work a day job, have a side hustle, invest enough so that now that side hustle can grow with it, and then get rid of that day job, unless you really like the day job, which most people don't. And then you can grow your business, and now you've got yourself essentially a retirement, because when you're running your own business, it doesn't seem like work. I may be sitting in front of a green screen right now, but I can guarantee you this is not work. This does not feel like work. And if you can do the exact same, your path might be different. You might be a mechanic. You might say, hey, well, I'll work as a mechanic over here. I'll start a side hustle of doing driveway mechanic, and then once that side business with my investments starts growing, I'll get rid of my mechanic's job. I'll turn my side hustle driveway mechanic job or company into an actual building. I'll hire a few people out to work on cars, and then from there I'll be able to sit back, not have to worry about the business as much. If you want to do YouTube, very similar. Build a couple of YouTube channels, grow them, get enough subscribers, make enough income from it, hire people who will actually do stuff for you on those channels, stuff like recording voiceovers or just editing videos, maybe a couple of $5, $10 freelancers who will edit the videos for you, and then you can get through them all. Things like that. Anyways, these are a few ideas anyways for how you can do a side hustle, but also how you can invest. This is a great way to be able to live your life, but it is extremely hard. It takes a lot of savings, it takes a lot of brain power, and also it does take a heck of a lot of trust with your family. Because I can tell you right now, there are going to be times, and there are some people who will get kicked out of their house because they're sitting at home too long and things like that. There is also a lot of social pressures. You may talk to a friend who says, oh yeah, I got a wife, I got kids, and then you kind of sit back and you're like, oh God, that sounds like fun. And then you're like, oh, no, it doesn't. Oh God, no. I don't want kids until I'm older. God, no. So I know there's some people who just want to have kids all the time. I'm happy with having one kid someday, but not yet. Anyways, that's my story. That's something that you can do as well. I thought I would share it. And yeah, hope you have a great day.